Welcome to the Waardenburg Family Farm. Today I'm going to can some ground beef. Come along and see how it goes.
Okay, tell me something. With all of that frozen ground beef we have, why in the world do you want to can it?
Well, there's a couple reasons. Number one, how many times have we gone to have dinner and I'm like, I forget to set the meat out to thaw. And then we end up going out and getting something to eat somewhere else. And it's like, no, I want to have ground beef ready, available, anytime I want it. So that's one reason. Number two, we do have a freezer full of beef.
Our beef.
Our beef, Waardenburg Family Farm beef. And it's taken up a lot of room, so I figured I'd get a little bit of it out and can it, and then it'll be shelf stable too. And another reason is it's cold, rainy, and dreary out today. And
You're feeding your addiction. Canning addiction.
I'm in the mood to can. So
Yep.
I've been wanting to try this, so I thought, hey, a good day for it.
Okay.
So,
I buy it.
yeah. You'll buy anything, I say.
Yeah.
So number one, I got to get the ground beef out of all these little packages and get it in this roaster, which I got this idea from Rachel from 1870s Homestead. She does hers in a big roasting pan. And that's a great idea because it's more surface area. You don't make a huge mess on your stove, and it makes sense to me. So that's what I'm going to try. See how it goes. So first, to get all this yummy, yummy Waardenburg Family Farm beef out of its packages. And
They're all 1 pound packages, aren't they?
yeah, maybe this time we should have some 5 pound packages. Do they package it in different things?
Sure.
Maybe we got to get a couple 5 pounds for when I want to do big bulk something, you know?
All right. Maybe we'll come back when you're all open.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. There's 15 of them.
So how's it going?
It's browning up nicely. Now with ground beef, you don't want to brown it the whole way because it's going to cook some when you're canning it too. So you don't want it to get too overcooked, but you do have to cook it some because if you put it in the jar raw, I don't think it's safe to start with. Plus it would can in the shape of the jar. You dump out a big hunk of ground beef.
All right, we'll take a closer look.
See, it's still got a little bit of pink in it. But it's doing nice. I think this roasting pan is a wonderful idea. But now I have water boiling on the stove because we're going to pour water in the jars with the ground beef.
No, it's pretty lean beef.
Yeah, it's our beef. It's
Yeah.
good. Good 100% Angus.
Yeah. You know, I don't know anything about the canning and the cooking, but I know that if you want good ground beef, you have to start off with quality ground beef.
So one other thing I have to get going, I got to get the jars in the oven. One rule of thumb with canning is if you're putting hot stuff in the jars need to be hot. If you're putting cold stuff in the jars, they need to be cold. So I need to get them warmed up for this, and I need to get warm water in the canner.
You know, if you go to the grocery store and you buy the cheapest beef they have, a lot of times that's old retired dairy cattle and not high quality beef.
Yeah. It's amazing. I didn't realize how much of a difference there was until we did our own beef. Should I tell them the story about Allie?
Sure.
You know, a lot of people ask, how are you going to eat it? You know, you've raised this thing, you fed it, you took care of it, how are you going to eat it? Well, yeah, I got to admit, the first time was a little weird, but you get used to the idea and you know that that's what we're raising them for. Our one granddaughter, when we first did, the very first time, she's like, I'm not going to eat that beef. And her mom says, well, you eat other beef, but I'm not going to eat that beef. Well, she changed her mind. The first day we brought it home, unloaded the package, divided them up. Donnie went out and started cooking some steaks on the grill, and they live right behind us, so they could actually smell it. Well, as soon as we sat down to eat, there were 3 ladies at our front door. Our daughter, Missy, her one daughter, and Allie were at the door. And they all said, can we taste the beef? And they've been eating it ever since. So it really is delicious. And as farmers, you get used to it. That's what they're there for.
Yep, Angus beef.
They're there to feed us. So this is looking great. I'm only going to do it for 1 or 2 more minutes. just with a little bit of pink in it. And I'm gonna let it cool off a little bit before I start putting it in the jars while the jars heat up.
I expected to see more like floating grease in there.
No, there is some grease, and I'll take it out with a slotted spoon so I don't put all the grease in the jars, but a little bit of grease is not a bad thing.
No.
We actually, our beef, we feed them just a little bit of grain. Now I know there's differing opinions on this. Everybody likes 100% grass-fed.
Not everybody.
In our experience, the grass-fed, yeah, it's less fat, but there's like no fat. When I tried to, ground some ground beef that was all 100% grass-fed, I had to add oil to get it to cook. So we feed ours just a little bit of grain so they have a little bit of fat. I don't know, steaks are better with a little bit of fat in my opinion.
Yeah, depends what you're used to.
We sold 3 full beef last year, sold them in quarters, and we kept, 2 quarters for ourselves, for our whole family. And we're going through it. We actually ate how many meals from our pantry this week? From the larder. I love having food in the larder, having things ready, to go. And this week it came in handy because one night we did beef stroganoff, and that's just a matter of cooking up the noodles, adding some flour and sour cream to the can that you can, and there's dinner. And then the other night, we had French onion soup. That was really good. If you've never canned French onion soup, it's delicious. And all it is, pour it, heat it, broil it with cheese on top. Instant meal. So, all right, I'll finish this up and I'll bring it back when I'm ready to put it in the jars. Okay, I'm being extra careful with these rims. Since there's grease, I don't want there to be any grease left on the rim or the things might not seal. So I wiped them a ton of times with vinegar and then dried them off. So now it's just a matter of putting the lids on, putting the rings on, putting them in the canner, and getting them going. But the 1 pound per pint is pretty darn accurate. I ended up with just about a pint left over because I did 15 pounds of meat and I have 14 pint jars. So we'll be having barbecue for lunch with the leftover ground beef. So I have my 7 jars on the bottom layer, and the way I can get 14 is I can do 2 layers in this canner with this handy little tray. So 7 on the bottom and 7 on top. And that'll be 14 jars. Now it's just time to put the lid on. And one thing, when you're canning meat, you do have to use a pressure canner. It's a very low acid food, so you have to use a pressure canner to can it. Make sure it's level. If you want a very, very good in-depth lesson on canning and pressure canning, I'm going to put a link below. Gilbrook Farm, she does a great job explaining all the details of canning and how to, what you need, why you do things. She's been one of the best instructors I've ever watched on YouTube. Now we turn the stove on. And we have to wait for it to get the temperature. What happens with the pressure canner is it'll get to a boil and you actually let it vent for like 10 minutes and then you plug that little hole up and it builds pressure in there. And there's a gauge that'll show me when it's 10 pounds of pressure. I start timing it. And I forget what the time is for beef. It's either 75 or 90. I'll have to check on that. But you have to let it keep it that pressure for that long. Then turn the stove off, let the pressure come down. Then we can take our ground beef out and see how it did. Hear that sound? That's music to a canner's ears.
I guess that's our lunch music.
Yes, it is. We've still got a little bit of time to go. While we're waiting for it to finish, we're having a little bit of the beef left over with some sauce on it. It's like a Manwich type sauce. I'll put the recipe below because it actually does taste like Manwich. It's the first time we've used it and I'm happy with it.
Good.
You want to
Can't
taste
wait
it, see if
try
you're
it.
happy?
Oh, sure.
And
Looks
we're
good.
having home canned good pickles and home canned pickled peppers and home canned peaches. Not
Very
bad,
good.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, all our kids like Manwich, so I thought I'd give it a try and it turned out good.
You know, some folks have trouble with the texture of beef done like this. This is not. This is amazing.
It's very good.
That's because it's good quality beef.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right, now what are you doing?
Oh. I had time to kill, so I made some chocolate chip cookies with freshly milled einkorn flour.
Nice.
We're starting to mill our own flour. So, interesting. It's different to cook with. It definitely bakes different, so that'll be a future video, but we already tasted the first batch of
You
cookies.
did another one with einkorn too, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I did molasses cookies. They're scrumptious.
Yeah.
And now these are actually pretty daggone good.
I think we'll have to get a professional taste testing group on that video.
Maybe we can bring the grandkids over to taste some ancient grain cookies.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, the pressure's down to 0. I took the weight off 10 minutes ago. Time to open it up and get the jars out. See how they look. You always want to open it away from you because there'll still be some steam in there. We have 0 pressure. See? Ooh, looking good. All right, everything looks great. That's 14 pints of ground beef, ready to go to the larder tomorrow morning. And the next time I want to have something for dinner and I forget to sit the ground beef out, no big deal. I'll just go down to the larder. Ooh, hear that pop? I'll go down to the larder, grab a thing of ground beef, and we'll have dinner. So I like that. That's cool.